Three voices, one unfinished story. Above image, me in the middle, held by the legacy of two matriarchs. On the left, my Jamaican grandma, aka Granny Jamrock. A woman whose devotion to God was matched only by the quiet authority she carried in every room. She never needed to raise her voice or her hand. One correction from her was enough to shift your spirit. You listened, not out of fear, but out of respect. Granny Jamrock loved her British-born children with a tenderness that was visible. However, for those that she left behind in Jamaica, including my father, love often came wrapped in silence and sacrifice. My dad was what you would call a barrel child, raised by parcels and promises, by duty and distance, not daily affection. He was the only one later summoned to England, joining Grandad and Granny Jamrock in a reunion shaped more by survival than softness. It is said that when my father arrived, Granny Jamrock treated him differently, less warmly than his British siblings. The welcome was not one Dad had imagined. There was a noticeable gap in how love was expressed, and it left an indelible mark. Whether shaped by guilt, grief, or an emotional toll of separation, Granny Jamrock's treatment of Dad reflected wounds that migration never fully healed. As you might imagine, this early dynamic still echoes. It has shown up over the decades in the family's emotional inability to resolve conflict, to name hurt, to repair rupture. There are relationships that remain fractured by a mix of unresolved conflict, absence, misunderstanding, and the weight of what was never spoken. I guess it goes without saying, but some tensions were swept under the rug, yep, and there they will remain. I won't lie, when I was a child, I was a little afraid of Granny Jamrock. Her presence could be intimidating, but now I see her through a wider lens. A woman forged in the fire of migration, a matriarch who bore the emotional cost of building a better life, a mother who, I imagine, made impossible choices and carried the weight of them quietly. Yet there were some warm memories too, like the way Granny Jamrock made the best boiled and fried dumplings, golden, crisped edge, chewy scented. That taste was comfort, that taste was home, it's still with me. Granny Jamrock's legacy is layered, not perfect, but powerful. And I honour it all. On the right, my Guyanese grandma, aka Granny Guy Guy. Granny Guy Guy died by suicide in her 30s, leaving behind 6 children, the youngest barely 8 months old. Her absence became a silence that echoed through the generations, a grief too heavy to name, too complex to hold, too taboo to touch. Granny Guy Guy, I bet, was a woman overwhelmed by pain, and yet her story was never truly told. Speaking of Granny Guy Guy's death became like poking the bear, some would say, an unspoken rule cast over her memory in a shadow, as if grief itself was something to be ashamed of, as if naming her pain might unravel something too big to consume. I've outlined my experience navigating this environment in my New Year, New Namsta blog post. Okay, so it's not the prettiest read at all, but just imagine having to live it, exploding head emoji. Both of my grandma's stories live in me. Their blueprints, etched in inherited wounds, showed me what not to repeat. One legacy marked by presence, the other marked by absence, both shaped by what may have been unintentional emotional abandonment of the children who became my parents, aunts and uncles. That imprint has shaped a path I'm still uncovering. What little I know of my grandma's backstories has taught me to hold space for silence, to listen for what was never said, and to show up in a world of tenderness, truth, and the courage to break cycles. I am a storyteller who, after what can only be described as walking through hell just to live my truth, now refuses to let the crippling ache of what was never voiced devastate connection or own a narrative. Let's not get it twisted though. It's been an incredibly tough and lonely road for countless reasons. What some may flippantly dismiss as family drama, think psychological warfare on steroids, my friend. Nevertheless, the catastrophic level of liberation I have since carved out from the pain, I wouldn't trade it for anything.